Hello and welcome to the Byline Breakdown, the podcast where we bring you the stories behind the headlines. I'm your host, Steve Peterson, filling in for Mike Moliterno. Today we're peeling back the layers of a complex story that's been making headlines in Ohio. Joining me today is Business Journal reporter Denise Dick, who covers our education beat and has been following this story closely. Denise, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
So 2 former Eastern Gateway Community College administrators had charges against them dismissed, but the investigation continues. So can you walk us through what this means for the college?
Well, the subsequent investigation is just getting started. They had search warrants that were executed last week at the main campus in Steubenville, and that involved multiple agencies. There was the Special Investigation Unit of the State Auditor's Office. There was U.S. Secret Service, Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, and then a division of OSP, and there was one other entity that the name escapes me. So what happens from that remains to be seen, and what if there's going to be more indictments, I would expect that's going to happen, but I would be speculating to say who that might involve.
In light of these charges, there's been a spotlight on the financial troubles of the college. So how bad is the situation?
Well, it's not good. The end of late December, they had to go to the Ohio Controlling Board, and they had initially requested a $12 million advance from the Ohio Department of Higher Education that comes through, has to get approval and come through Ohio Controlling Board. They got $6 million, which is for 3 months, and that was to ensure adequate cash flow and to make sure that they could meet payroll. So, it's not good. And that follows back in August, they got a $3.6 million advance. So they're supposed to come back in March, and the Ohio Department of Higher Education has put a lot of conditions that they have to meet on that, getting that money. And one of those is they have to, by January 15th, which is Monday, lay out how they're going to search for a new president, because right now they have an interim. They've had an interim for the past couple of months. And also by January 15th, they have to have a financial recovery plan, and that recovery plan has to meet many different standards. Then they've got to decide by March whether they're going, what's the status of the summer and fall for the summer and fall of 2024 semesters, and they need to review and eliminate non-essential expenses. So and also the Ohio Department of Higher Ed wants to be involved in the meetings that Eastern Gateway has with U.S. Department of Ed. So, and that's just some highlights. There's many, many more conditions that they were supposed to meet.
And with the state stepping in with a financial advance, what are the expectations placed on Eastern Gateway? Well,
some of those that I just mentioned.
Right.
They have to review the organizational structure. They have to make a commitment to the weekly meetings with Ohio Department of Higher Ed. They have to develop student communication plan. Going back to that financial recovery plan that I mentioned, that has to have an analysis of financial difficulty and the causes of the revenue and expenditure problems, description of the efforts or initiatives that will address those difficulties, detailed financial forecast for at least 3 years. So, it's a giant list. It's single-spaced, one sheet.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it seems like a pivotal time for the college. But before we continue, let's take a quick break. Stay with us for more insights from Denise Dick on the future of Eastern Gateway Community College.
Attention all business enthusiasts in Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania. The Business Journal has been your trusted partner since 1984, giving insights, updates, and fostering growth in your region. From Mahoning to Mercer, from Columbiana to Lawrence, we've got you covered. For just $10 a month or $99 a year, unlock our digital troves or get both print and digital for only $99 a year. Make the smart business choice. Subscribe now.
Okay, we're back with Denise Dick discussing the events at Eastern Gateway Community College. So Denise, the college has made significant cuts and is in the process of selling assets. How does this affect the community and the students?
Well, I think that remains to be seen. It's probably going to be streamlined in both locations, because their main campus is in Steubenville, and
Right.
then they have the local campus in Youngstown. So they are getting an appraisal for one of the buildings in Steubenville. and so they're looking to sell that.
Okay.
And right now there are they have their facilities in 3 offices down in 3 buildings in Steubenville. And they also, one of them, they're also another one in addition to the one they're looking to sell. I guess they rent it, and they're looking to potentially move to just one building there.
Okay.
And then here, they had somebody expressed interest in buying the parking deck. So that as of the meeting last week, they hadn't met with that person or that group, but that's also on the horizon. And so that will, they said it was someone who was interested in the downtown. So I don't know if my guess is that person will continue, that entity, person, individual, company, whatever it is, will continue to operate it as a parking deck, but it needs significant repair.
And Eastern Gateway's enrollment exploded with the free college benefit program. What went wrong with that, and what are the lessons there?
Well, they went from I think it was 5,000 in 2017 to 40-some thousand in 2021, 22.
Yeah.
So it was, gigantic increase. So obviously you're going to have some, your faculty is going to, and they relied a lot on adjunct, which now they've, in making the cuts, they've gotten rid of a lot of the adjunct.
Sure.
They also, the U.S. Department of Education kind of came down on the program. They told them to stop it. And they have charged that they were charging Pell recipients more than non-Pell recipients.
Okay.
So that's one of the issues that the U.S. Department of Higher Education cited in telling them to cease the program. Then Eastern Gateway sued U.S. Department of Education because they wanted to keep the program running. And what happened out of that, among other things, I'm sure, was the end of the program. This is the first semester, the semester that started just a couple days ago on Monday, was the first semester where nobody is under the free.
Okay.
In the fall, if you were already a student and you enrolled by August of 2023, you could continue, but that ended with the end of fall semester.
Okay.
So they're all free is gone.
Okay.
So they are. I don't know what the enrollment will be for this semester, but last semester it was down to a half of what it had been the year before.
Right.
So that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When do those numbers come out for enrollment?
It's 14th day, so the first day would have been Monday, the 8th? So I haven't counted it, but 14-day enrollment numbers.
Okay. So before we wrap things up, what are the main takeaways from this story?
Well, I think they grew really quickly, a lot, and maybe they didn't have the structure in place to handle that.
Right.
And we'll see what the future is going to look like. It was interesting that at a meeting that I went to last week, there was a gentleman from the Ohio Department of Education who said that this is not the state versus Eastern Gateway. We recognize the importance that it plays in both Steubenville and Youngstown. It's the only community college in either location.
Right.
And it serves a need for the education of the students who are seeking that.
Sure.
So, but he also said that of the institutions he's worked with, that Eastern Gateway's was the most dire financial situation he'd seen.
Oh, wow.
So that's pretty stark.
Right.
So I expect more cuts. What that will look like, I don't know yet. Time will tell.
Yeah.
But it's going to be, and they have somebody helping them with the submissions for financial aid to U.S. Department of Ed. They've hired a consultant to do that. And then they have what they call an executive on loan from Youngstown State, who's helping with some of the operations and how to make things better there. So what Eastern Gateway will look like at the end of this, it remains to be seen. But they are definitely more under a microscope now than they had been.
Okay.
And I also should mention that since I think it was November of 21, they've been on probation.
Okay.
They still have accreditation, but they've been on probation. And that probation generally lasts 2 years. It was extended for another year in this past November. So there'll be a visit from the the Higher Learning Commission, which is the accrediting body, will make a visit in the spring, and then they are supposed to make a determination in November of 2024 what the status is. And one of the things that they cited And there's a whole list of things that back in 2021 that I keep saying Ohio, that the Higher Learning Commission cited for the reason for the probation, and they've made a lot of changes and met some of those. Some of those conditions they met with concerns.
Sure.
But they still are out of compliance with a few. One of the things that they mention is that the review from the U.S. Department of Ed is ongoing, and that there could be sanctions from that which have a financial implication. Sanctions, it could include fines.
Oh.
So that's one of the things that also, and that's going to affect everything too, because it depends on what that fine is.
Right.
More financial issue.
Denise, thanks again for coming back on the show. We always like having you on here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for putting up with me today.
No problem.
To our listeners, you can find all of Denise's coverage of Eastern Gateway Community College on businessjournaldaily.com. We've also included some links in the show notes. Thanks for tuning in to the Byline Breakdown. Join us next week as we break down the stories behind the headlines. Until then, I'm Steve Peterson.
You wouldn't drive a car without a map, so why navigate the business world of northeastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania without the Business Journal? Trusted since 1984, we're the compass pointing you to growth and prosperity. Digital, print, why not both? We've got subscription options tailored for every business-savvy individual. Light up your path to success. Subscribe to the Business Journal today.